I'm curious to see if my stream disconnects or something. So it is, let's see, 9:01 p.m. right now, and I just wanted to document some of my thoughts today. So today, as you guys know, I went and sold a bunch of plushes, and it went really well. It really did. Now, I don't know if I told you guys yesterday, but there were just some really, really warm people, and it really it really took me aback because I felt so much warmth and loveliness from those people. Now today I was a little stressed out because I can't, I had all these plushies and things like that, and um, when I came in, I was like, oh my goodness, I got to do my setup. I have all this stuff. I have all this backlog, and yeah, I was just focused on pushing out the blushes. Now, yesterday I had also told you guys that I learned about some vintage bottles, and one of the people that I had spoken to, they surprised me and said, "Hey, I want to give you a bottle." So they gave me a bottle. It's a tiny little blue bottle, and they told me it was about 100 years old. And I was so appreciative of it. I told them, I said, thank you so much. I'm gonna make sure that I have this for a very, very, very long time. I wanted to share this with you guys because they don't know anything really about me. I don't really know anything about them. In fact, to be frank, I can't really remember their name, and I'm really bad with names. It's supposed to be an insult, but it's just there's something about my mind, like I can't hold on to names very well. Like you can tell me your name and maybe like 20 minutes later I'll forget your name, just because I have a thing against, oh, like I'll remember faces but I won't remember names. You see where I'm getting at? So this person, they give me this bottle, this small little bottle that's 100 years old, and I was, like I said, I just remember thinking to myself, I wanna hold on to that. I wanna see that little vintage bottle and just remember, always be a very kind and loving person. And I try to be, I really try to be. But sometimes, as I've told you, I have this thing where if I get depressed, I kind of wall off and I get kind of distant. So it's been kind of like a battle with me because I tell myself, I said, Erica, like I know you're afraid of always being clingy, but you got to reach out to people. You got to tell people what you have on your mind, and maybe you'll seem kind of weird, but just go for it, really. And I put myself, sometimes in really vulnerable situations, and it makes me uncomfortable. But then I always think to myself, you know what, Erica, what's the worst that can happen, right? Let's say if you get hit by a car or something, they're gonna say, well, she told me something, and it was a little weird, but at least she tried. So I now have this vintage bottle that I know I'm going to just keep with me, probably ideally until the day I die, or longer. And I want to use that little bottle as a memory that there was this person that gave me this little vintage bottle, and they didn't have to give it to me, but they did it out of their kindness of their heart. And we didn't exchange numbers or phone numbers or anything like that. It was like, here, I'd like you to have this. And yeah, once they saw me, they just gave me the bottle. And then, I was really kind of taken aback by it. I think I've shared with you guys, how people in Hawaii are. They really lead with their heart, and they really connect from the heart, and they connect from the soul. And I had done a aloha stream, I think last week or so. And I had touched upon that. I say that people have the aloha spirit within them. And it's really, it really is there. And I feel so sad and embarrassed and, guilty that I lost a lot of that aloha spirit once when I was in New York. It's just like you live your life thinking that the world is such a sunny place, and then you go to New York and you see how different people are, And yeah, you got nice people, but they're not on like the same level as Hawaii. They're really not. You know, you got a lot of people who just like look out for themselves. You know, they're just like sizing you up kind of thing. And yeah, you know, it's just like a combination of things. I know people will be like, "Oh my gosh, Sugar, you sound emotional again." Yeah, I know. But yeah, you know, it's like you can be raised in an environment that's so loving, so caring, and then you can lose yourself and not even realize it. And then you start changing. And then, you know, you become a person that you don't really even recognize anymore because you're just so lost in your head. And yeah, you don't have anything to like, kind of like pull you back because you don't have those like warm spirits that you used to have, you know, back when you were, you know, that you were used to. Again, you know, these people that I had spoken to, I had never met them in my life prior to yesterday. But it's like I could just feel that love and warmth and sincerity. And you know, they told me, they said, you know, they live their life, you know, trying to be the miracle. And they said, you know, we need to live our life being the miracle. And yeah, you know, that's what I believe in as well. I think that sometimes the world is just such a dark place that we need to really find the strength within ourselves to be that light, even if it's really, really difficult. Because if we extinguish our own light, there's going to be no light in the world. See, that's what that whole, you know, aloha song is, you know, spread a little aloha around the world, because the world is not really a bright and beautiful place like it is in the tropical, you know, on a little tropical island. So, yeah, you know, part of me feels like I really failed in New York. And it just makes me feel so bad. But, you know, I can't live my life based on feelings. It's just one of those things I wanted to say. Um, you know, I just wanted to get it off my chest. But yeah, it just really warmed my heart to see how loving people were. And I continue to see how loving people are. And yeah, you know, these people make the world a really a better place for sure. So yeah, let me reach out really quick. Yeah, I know it's not the responsibility, but you know, like I said, you know, I've lived, you know, I lived in Hawaii for about what 30 years or so. I can't remember when I moved to New York, 29, 30, and I I basically, when I was in New York, it's like, yeah, you know, I had depression and things like that, but I would always see such smiling faces. You know, I would see people who would be kind to each other. And yeah, maybe people, you know, maybe some people were just more distant, but overall, you know, you could see the kindness and the love in people's eyes. You know, even when they would do something as simple as like grab something off the shelf, you would see that soft gaze in their eyes. That is something that I didn't really see in New York. Like you would see people and they'd just be so focused. Like it would just be like they didn't, like you didn't feel really that peacefulness, shall I say. And it it's like I don't know, I just felt like I was pretty tense in New York and I couldn't put my finger on it. But I really like, I know people in New York are going to get triggered and probably dislike me for saying this, but there's a reason why people say that, you know, lucky we live in Hawaii and things like that. It's just like that's a famous quote that a lot of people say, you know, lucky we live in Hawaii, because it comes down to like the way people are to each other, the way people are to themselves, the outlook that people have. It's just so much more loving and so much more selfless than in New York. New York is like, if I can get something from you, I will get something from you. I will step over you to get to my goals. That kind of thing. You know, I will destroy you just to get ahead in life. And it was really a shock to me to pick up on that stuff, you know, to encounter things like, I know people would say I sound so sheltered, but to encounter like instances of racism, people would say like, what is an Asian doing in my community? I would hear about anti-Asian stuff, and I would think to myself, people would be suspicious of me. I had people say, I don't want you to walk behind me, I want you to walk in front of me. And that's why I didn't walk like more than 5 blocks away from where the apartment was, because I just thought, I don't know that area, and I don't really feel safe going in places by myself, even if I walk around wearing a dress. Like, there's nothing threatening about me. You guys see how I look like, right? But those things linger in my brain, and it's like, it just, every time you encounter certain instances, you lose a part of yourself. You don't really have anything where like you have like a recharging station where you recharge your mental health. It's just more and more draining. And yeah, I didn't. I've shared this before to you guys. Like, I didn't have anybody that I could, like I felt like reminded me of Hawaii. Someone that I could feel like it's like, you would feel that familiarity, warmth, in Hawaii, in New York. I never felt it. I felt like I was, different, and I felt like I was kind of ostracized, and I just felt like I was, I don't know, there was something, I guess, weird about me, kind of alienated about me. I just didn't feel like I really fit in with a lot of people in New York. Who knows, it could be a combination that I didn't have a job. It could be a combination that, I could be seen as just not, I don't know, not this, not that, but I just felt like I was overall kind of like a failure. And that really messed with me. Um, and when I see people in Hawaii and they're different, they like, people don't care about really what you do. It's like, I told people, I said, I don't have a job, and they're like, don't worry, just live your life, you'll get a job when you're ready, kind of thing. If you don't need the money, you're okay, kind of thing. Just enjoy the moment, just enjoy life. And there was something so loving about that. So yeah, you could see how it's kind of like a culture shock. I don't want to say culture shock, but like people shock. And yeah, I felt like there was a number of people who were just resentful of the world in New York, and I just couldn't understand. People would just be so. I felt like there was like a darkness, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, why the hell? I was thinking to myself, like, I don't understand it. What is there to be angry about or depressed about? Why are people causing problems within their own community? Why don't people just come together? And I would see so much divisiveness, and I just couldn't understand it, because, like I said, if you guys saw my stream yesterday, it's like, I have no problem talking to police officers. Police officers have no problem talking to other people. We don't see it like as people in Hawaii versus like the terrible, terrible, evil cops. Like, no, we see them as just people who have a job. And I know people will get really irked at me for not being anti-police, but you have to understand that I see people for who they are, not what their career is. And people hate that idea. It's easier to hate people and just blanket statement people than just kind of take them by piece by piece by piece. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not saying that like everybody in New York is like that, but what I'm saying is like the overwhelming majority from what you pick up in New York is like, you have a lot of resentment, you have a lot of divisiveness, you have people who are not supporting each other, you have people who just like turn on each other, and then you wonder why New York is not a better place. It's like, you can't fix that. There's no laws, no punishment, no prisons that can, no anything that can fix that. You have to fix the people. And that's just a problem that I don't know how to solve, except freaking bring a tropical island there. And even then, that might not solve it. You can transplant like 1,000 Hawaiians over to New York, and I don't think that would solve it. I got my doubts there, but you know, you see where I'm getting at. And I only say Hawaiians because it's like, local people are just really friendly. We're like, we don't we might not know each other, but we understand that we can connect on a human level. And yeah, it's like it's weird. It's so weird how you can be in like two different major cities, but the way people treat each other is differently. It's a good place to be if you want to build something for yourself and build a friendship with people along the way. I would actually disagree. I think that, and people will criticize me for this, but I actually don't think very highly of a lot of people in New York. I don't. I think that there's a lot of people who just don't connect, with other people. Like anybody who's from Hawaii will probably understand where I'm getting at. It's like even I think even if you listen to that stream yesterday and you listen to how people were talking to each other, people were interacting with each other, it's a much softer level. And yeah, people might get angry for me to say this, but you have to wonder why Hawaii is a much more safer place. Yeah, Hawaii has a very high cost of living. People don't get paid very well in Hawaii, but we don't attack each other on that level like you have in New York. Like I watch the news and I hear about crime on crime on crime. Why? Why is that? It's because that people just I think people are just very people can be very hateful to one another. And I think there's some toxicity that's in there, but I don't know where what it causes it. I'm not very well versed. It's just that I can tell you what I pick up. Why are people attacking other people on the subway? Why are people having all this violent crime to one another? Why? I don't know about. Yeah, I guess maybe I'll just say New York City. My mic is popping. I don't know. Hold on, one moment. Okay, yeah. But yeah, it's just there's something about New York. I don't know what it is. It's like I felt like such an outsider. I felt like I couldn't integrate well. And I know people will probably say, "Oh, Erica, you didn't try to integrate enough." But when I did try to integrate enough, I still felt like an outsider. I still felt like I couldn't connect with people. You know? I don't know. I don't know what it is. All I can tell you is that from what I pick up in Hawaii is that people treat each other a lot better. They speak to each other a lot better. There's more like people will actually go up to each other and offer each other food. And I don't know that person. I've never met that person before. But they'll ask me, do you want to try this? And I'll be like, yeah. And they just walk around with a friendly face. There's one person, this older guy, he walks around with like bags of candy, like a sweet older gentleman. And yeah, he was just giving candy to people. I guess he just wanted to brighten people's day. And if you saw this in New York, you would be instantly suspicious. But in Hawaii, it's not so weird because you would think like, man, this is just a old person who just wants to make the world a little sweeter. You see? It's like it's very interesting to me like how behaviors of one area can be seen as like hella suspect and then in another area it's like, oh, that person's just trying to do a good thing. 10 million people all crammed up in a small place, but percentage wise, it's considered one of the lowest. One of the lowest what? One of the lowest what? Crime rate? I think New York has a thing where there's a lot of things just left unchecked, and then people just accept that that's the way things are. That's what I think. So David says, as for direct causes of why people behave the way they do, upbringing, past experiences, and the way they all see each other behave. Yeah, that's a good point, right? David brings up a really good point. If you see people acting a certain way, you'll fall in line. You're not going to go against the tide. One of the lowest crime rates. I don't know about that. I mean, like, here's the thing, okay? I think that you got a lot of people who just become very apathetic in the world. And it sounds great to say it has one of the lowest crime rates, but I think you just have a lot of people who just don't bother. And then they just don't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just having the one of the lowest crime rates, or allegedly one of the lowest crime rates for population density, it doesn't, like, it doesn't remove certain aspects of New York. Um, Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because, I turn on the news and I hear about things in New York, but I don't really hear about that in other states. So, yeah, it's like New York, I think, is great for making money, but I think New York hardens people's up. I really think New York either does two things to people: they either make people or they break people. And if you're not mentally strong, if you don't have fortitude, you will break. And you have to just kind of be on guard, kind of thing. Like, you need to, I would say this, okay? And people might disagree with me on here, but I would say that if you live in New York, it's best that you have your guard up at all times. Don't get too comfortable around people, especially people you don't know, because there's a good chance people will scam you. When I was in New York, right? Chances are when people approach me, it's looking because they want to scam me. It wasn't like, oh, hey, let's just talk kind of thing. If someone randomly sits next to me to talk, I can almost guarantee you that that person wants to scam me. They're not looking out. They're not thinking like, oh, let me just talk to this chick because just because. No, there's usually some kind of like bad ulterior motive. And when you're in Hawaii, you don't really pick that up. If someone talks to you, it's like you feel that energy. It's like a different kind of energy. It's like, oh, hey, how are you doing, kind of thing. But yeah, it's like I said, I never had these thoughts going into New York. It's these experiences were just shaped by the things that I saw, the things that happened. Like, I think the biggest thing about New York is you got a lot of people who are just apathetic. People who just run on emotions, and I don't know what it is. Okay, I know people give me a lot of crap about this, but I think it's just like I've always just seen it as like, why are people destroying their own cities when it comes down to like hating the police? I just never understood that. I never understood the reasoning behind it. I'm mad about things, so let me go ahead and deface things. Like, people get mad at me this, but I don't understand where the higher brain thinking of that thing is. I would see people just try to like destroy things, and I would think, you don't understand, that's your taxpayer money coming at this. And then you have a movement, you have movements that, I know I have to be very careful about what I'm saying here, but I really just don't care at this point. But you got movements who are empowered, and then it just feeds into this frenzy, like, this is how you become one of the cool kids. And I saw it, people love just getting angry and being hateful, and then just feeling like they will, they got the power to just be hateful. And again, you don't have this in Hawaii. Like, people don't do this kind of stuff. And it's because we're able to see people as people. Like, yeah, maybe there's, like, don't get me wrong, there's been crap happening with the Honolulu Police Department, right? But it's like you don't see people have this kind of like visceral reaction with their own police department. I don't know what it is. Like, it's like are people so dumb that they can't recognize that yes, maybe you have some people mess up, but like you can't just lump everybody as like the whole department, the whole force. So yeah, it's like maybe I'm the stupid one. Maybe I should react emotionally and say the whole department, the whole force is all bad because of like a few people. But I refuse to do that because I think that if I do that, I would just be one of those idiots who just go ahead and destroy a city. But yeah, I see that. I see people get all hyped up and then they just get all like, oh, I have this bonding experience with another person. I'm going to destroy my city and I'm going to be so hateful just because I can do that. And that gives me purpose in life. And there's something so terrible about that stuff when we don't have that in check. Look, I am totally for having open discussions. I am totally for seeing people individually. But I am not for, going out and insulting other people who are not even, who just so happen to have a job. And this job they needed to take care of their family, take care of themselves kind of thing. But I have seen people in New York being disrespectful to police officers who are not doing anything, egging them on kind of thing. And I just think to myself, I'm supposed to applaud the person who is harassing a police officer. I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to be that person who's like, oh, yeah, screw the police. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. And I know what people are going to say, but I really cannot stand behind people who harass police officers because of bad apples. Like, you cannot harass an entire force. But people are okay with it because it's the cool thing to do in New York. That's what I pick up. And yeah, I can't voice these opinions because if I voice these opinions, then I'm seen as like the terrible person who is, just against, I guess, positive change, which are positive whatever. But yeah, like New York, in my opinion, if you have this kind of thinking about your police department, like yikes. Like, geez, I would not want to be a police officer. I don't think negatively of NYPD. I've come across NYPD officers. From what I pick up, from what I've seen, they just kind of like, they might not appear to be the most keen about their job, but they're not acting out to other people. I've seen more people kind of just being disrespectful to them than the other way around. And yeah, it's just really something, and it makes me sad. It makes me really sad when people just like think to themselves like they can just belittle another person just because of the actions of another person that was like completely unrelated kind of thing. But yeah, you're supposed to, I guess, agree with that kind of thing. Either that or you are the bad person. You are the person who is just so backwards. No, I mean, like, look, in Hawaii, we recognize that, yeah, our police force might not be the greatest. We do have something. Look at Louis K. Aloha. I think that was his name, if I remember correctly. Like, he was involved in some really bad stuff. He was the police chief. Okay, that was really bad. It made Honolulu Police Department look really, really, really bad. But you know what? Do people hate the police officers? No, we're just like, hey, this is some messed up stuff. But yeah, there was no thing about like take down HPD or anything that I kind of felt. It was just like, man, that guy was like a bad apple and just leave it at that. If you had if you had a circle consistent of people who are positive about New York or positive in general, I believe you could have had a different view. My experience was from interactions that I saw right in front of me. It was not based on words that I heard. It was things that I saw and witnessed with my own eyes. And I could see the way people were to each other, you know. And like I said, so many people tried to scam me in New York. It was unreal. Like people just like wait at the subway. You know, they have no guilty, they have no conscience about what they do. And I guess we're supposed to say like it's okay, you know, it's okay if the scammers exist, but really what needs to be done about these people is they really should be seen as like absolute scum of the earth. But yeah, you know, nobody does anything. They don't get arrested from what I pick up. We just kind of say like, oh well, you know, if they scam someone, oh well, I guess they, you know, they're able to pull the wool over their eyes. Like it's very apathetic. So yeah, I'm not saying like I'm saying I'm not saying like all New Yorkers are bad. Like that's not what I'm saying. But I think the general vibe is that I don't think people really come together truly. I don't sense it. You know, overall, like I think there are people who really care about their community. I've met them, but there's more not so good things than good things, I feel like. And I think that's what causes New York to be New York. I personally think there's some kind of moral degradation, you know, degradation in New York. But yeah, New York is known as being the place where Sex in the City was, and it's supposed to be nice and hip and things like that. It's supposed to be portrayed as a fairy tale. I don't see it that way. Um, I think it's just, you know, we were supposed to think like, oh yeah, it's cool, you know, all the hip people are there, but I'd say watch out, you know, like really watch out. And I think that again, you have to be very mentally strong to be in New York because you have to have systems in place where you can be very self reliant. And if you cannot regulate your emotions, you will become very depressed and you will not have systems in place to catch you. I think there's a lot of depression that goes on in New York. And I think it's really the environment there. I think it's the way that people are to each other. And I think it sends a signal to our brain about certain things. And I think people feel helpless about certain situations as well because they see problems, they want to help, but they can't help. They know they're in a losing battle, so it causes stress, right? What do people do when they feel like they're in a losing battle? They just like their brain, I think, kind of short circuits. So yeah, watch out what you're saying, David. You would get canceled hard if you say any of things like that. So yeah, so that is my thoughts about New York overall. And it makes me sad, you know, because it's like I would love for New York to be less cliche-y. You know, I would love for it to be more loving and supportive. But I think that there's a reason why they say New York strong. You really have to be New York strong to be okay in that state. Like you cannot be like a freaking sensitive, emotional, you know, like Hawaiian because you will just, you know, you'll just have like a total culture shock. You would. And yeah, it's like you can be nice to people, like don't get me wrong, but I don't think you will not feel that warmth that you feel interacting with people in Hawaii. Again, I implore you guys, listen to that stream that I did, my second part, and you can hear how just people spoke to each other and things like that, and you could see kind of like that energy. And tell me if you guys are in New York if you feel that kind of energy. I don't think you guys do in New York. York is good for touristy stuff, but I think that it's a pretty soulless place. I think that people, they do the whole thing where they're just a tourist and they do the actions of it. But if you scrape all that touristy stuff out, I think it's a pretty depressing place. I think people feel hopeless. I think people feel like criminals run it, and I don't think criminals feel like they're in check. And then when you have what appears to be fear around, what people do is they shut down. And when they shut down, they just, it's like you feel like you feel like you can't really make the frickin' New York a better place. Like that's what it comes down to. Like how can you as a person help make the city safer? What can you do? What? Get more police officers? Talk to the criminals? Hey, please don't attack each other. Is that what we're supposed to do? Like, no. It's like you just hear about this stuff and it just causes like fear, paranoia, that kind of stuff. I think it's kind of like of like a happiness mirage. Wow. Some homeless guy threw a girl on the subway tracks. Wow. Don't forget, Wes. New York. Well, yeah. Don't forget, Wes. New York is one of the, I guess, lowest crime rates. I mean, I don't hear this stuff happening in other states. Like, how many times have we heard about people getting pushed, attacked, that kind of stuff? I even told you guys, right? One time I was at the subway, and the subway was going up, and then there was this guy next to me, and while the train was pulling up, right, from the corner of my eye, I forgot how far he was. Maybe it was 6 feet, 10. I forgot how far it was. Okay, but he was next to me, and I remember from the corner of my eye, I saw his hand swing in my peripheral. And what he did is he grabbed a coffee cup and I believe he threw it at the train. I did a stream on it, okay? But I remember thinking like, what the hell? Like who the hell does this stuff? And yeah, did anybody step in and do anything? No, people just watch. And that's the other thing too, right? When people don't step up to help each other, people think to themselves, okay, so if I get beat up, no one's really going to rescue me. If someone tries to, if someone does something heinous, like don't expect citizens to help each other out. I'll be like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. And then it's like I would not be surprised. This is how I think of it, okay? I would not be surprised and this is based on what I see in videos too, right? If a person beats up another person, even if in your subway car with 20 people and there's at least five grown adult men on that subway car, all people are going to do is scream like a little bitch and be like, oh, don't hurt him, don't do anything. My goodness. Like, why are there such useless guys on a subway train watching another guy assault a person? Like, they're just useless. And I know in Hawaii that stuff would not fly. 100%. Like that stuff would not fly if this was in Hawaii. Because people would say, they would come together and the guys would find that inner strength to just like band together because they would be like, hey, we got to protect our community, right? Instead of being apathetic. And then they would try and, you know, like put that, control that guy or like stop him. But in New York, it's like, nope, not my problem. Not my problem. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to get I'm not going to get my shirt dirty or anything like that. I'm not going to have a wrinkle in my shirt. Like, I can't deal with that. That's not my problem. See? It's sick. It's really gross and it's really sick. And, that's the reason why, like, New York is the way it is. You get beat up. Don't expect anybody to help you out. If I got beat up in New York, I wouldn't expect anyone to help me out, even if there was a grown guy next to me. You know why I say that? Because remember that time that I got that tomato thrown at me? Yeah, there was a guy who looked like he went to the gym. Actually, I take that back. I know he had to go to the gym, okay, of some sort, right? He had these muscles. This kid was pelting tomatoes at this woman and I, right? Did he say anything to the kid? No. Did he try to step up? No, he didn't. He just was on his phone, knowing that this was happening, could not be bothered at all. It wasn't his problem. So, yeah. Well, who's supposed to help out people? The police. People want to defund the police. So, who's going to help out people if they need help? Nobody except themselves. Yeah, David. Yeah, David. I agree. You know, I think from what I pick up, from what I hear about Texans, right? Texans are really tough. They have good morals. They stand up. Those guys over there, they take charge. They take initiative. But frickin' these people that I hear about in New York, I don't know what it is about those guys where they just kind of they don't do crap. I don't know what it is. Like when I saw that video of some guy getting beat up on a subway car by another guy, and like there was like five guys on the subway car, like I just thought to myself, like, what the hell? And all the women were like, just stop, stop. Like the women showed more power than the guys on the subway car because the guys didn't even do anything. They probably just stood there with their mouth open or just looked away. No, I'm not talking about. I'm not. No, no, no. So, but if I jumped into White Knight Rescue, the news wouldn't read white attacks. No, I would. You know, when I think about people, I think about human to human. I don't like to think about color lines or anything like that. I like to say like, art is a New Yorker helping out a New Yorker is another fellow human being helping out another fellow human being. And if I don't see that, and I kind of pick up that people don't care to do that, it turns into like a combination of fear and selfishness. You could see it as them being absolute cowards. Like there is no reason why five guys cannot overtake one guy who's beating up another guy, right? What are you going to tell me? The guy who's beating up another guy is going to be able to Bruce Lee the other five guys? Like no. But people don't feel that connection. They don't feel that that feel to protect their community. You see? It's like easier to just say like, "Oh, my city is going bad." Like, yeah, just stop. Like that's like you see where I'm getting at? And that's why I think when violent crime happens, like no one really gets involved because everyone's just conditioned themselves to not do anything at all. Like even the guys who go to the gym, they're not going to do crap. Even if a guy, I think, was beating up a woman, I think even if there was 10 guys, those guys would be absolutely useless. But yeah, maybe there will be actually a few men who will step up. But I don't, I think that, we just don't, there's just not enough men in New York. Because they would just say, like, oh, it's not my problem. I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, let's not band together as like a group of men to help out a fellow human being. It's just like easier to just be like, okay, whatever. So yeah, I am used to people stepping up and helping other people out. For instance, right? Like I notice in Hawaii, if people see someone else needing help, people will say, "Oh, can I help you with that? Oh, do you need some assistance with that?" Like these are like natural things for people to do, but in New York, it's not so much. I think it's just a mindset. I don't know what it is. I don't know. The videos that I have seen makes me think otherwise. My experiences that I've been in makes me think otherwise. Tell me, why was Yang, like, I don't follow politics very much, but like, why was Yang destroyed on social media for saying that hackers should be jailed? Isn't that like some common sense thing? If you do something and you harm another person, you should face some sort of repercussions. You shouldn't just be all like, oh, well, that person apologized and then I'll let them go. Like, I'm not getting it. Like, what is it? Like, why was Yang destroyed on social media for saying that? Like, what did people want him to say? If the guy writes "I'm sorry," like that would have been good enough. Yeah, but like, what's so offensive about that? Saying that if someone does something, then they should get jailed. Like, if someone broke into someone's house, I think they should be jailed. Like, am I wrong to say that? Am I losing my mind over here in saying that? Like, if you break a law and you commit something, you do something violent against another person, you should be jailed. Is there something offensive about that? Yeah, see, I don't know too much about the case to talk about it, but I guess maybe if the guy had a violent history, maybe Yang would have said, yeah, based on his record or his prior record, could have been seen as a threat to society. But you can't keep people locked up in a jail forever for doing certain things. Like if someone uh, broke into a car, right? I'm not going to say like they should be jailed forever and ever and ever. No, they're going to be released eventually. But if it was a series of things, I can understand why someone would say, yeah, they shouldn't have been released. Like if they keep doing violent things, maybe they should stay locked up. Oh, oh, jeez, Louise. Yeah, we gotta stop thinking so much about like, I, I don't know. Like it feels like sometimes it's like part of like this whole idiocracy kind of thing. It's like what? Like it's just ridiculousness kind of thing. When I don't know if you guys catch this, but when there's crime in Honolulu and then people act up or something, you actually see videos of people saying thank you HPD, thank you for doing your job. Why is that? I feel like Hawaii, I feel like Honolulu is like pretty much pro police. I don't, like I said, I don't know anybody who's anti-police. I've actually dated guys who actually ended up, going for the police force. And it's not like they loved the police department. They just saw nothing wrong with it. So, they went through training and things like that. I don't have anything bad to say about those guys, in terms of like how they view the world or anything. They were just trying to make a difference. They were trying to make the world a better place. And when I think about like policing and things like that, I just think that you can't just assume that people get into policing because of they want to be some kind of like ego power hungry person. Maybe they just want to try to make a difference, try to catch the criminals, be kind of like a Batman or something. Yeah. See, I've heard about like I think a prosecution or something is kind of flawed or something like that in New York, but man, it's like I just don't know. There's just so many issues. But again, I really truly believe it comes down to the people. Look, Honolulu, look at our police department, look at our crime here. Yes, we got things like people stealing stuff from people, but I don't see like violent stuff. I don't, I walked down the street. You guys saw my video yesterday. I was walking down the street, freaking at 2 a.m. And it's like, you feel fine. Now, you could argue and say, well, Erica, you when you were walking there, you were alone. I'm like, yeah, because like people keep to themselves. Even the homeless in Hawaii, okay? Well, the homeless overall in Hawaii, they're very respectful. They, we like understand like high cost of living. It's unfortunate that we do have homelessness in Hawaii, but it's like we just kind of think to ourselves like, hey, we got to help each other out. I know people who donate money like whenever they encounter the homeless. People who help out trying to get people back on their feet kind of thing. But yeah, I don't, maybe it's just me. It's like like it's just like even when it comes down to like the homelessness in Hawaii, I don't feel like people are like us against the homeless. I feel like it's more like, we got to get rid of our homelessness problem, but everybody realizes it's between a rock and a hard place because there's not enough affordable housing. So it's very easy for people to become homeless if they don't have a good job, or if they just kind of fall through, they just fall on hard times. Um, I've known people who have become homeless, and it's not because we're bad people, it's just because finances happen. Yeah. Like like I said, when I see a police officer in Hawaii, I don't think to myself, oh, that person's going to harm me. I think to myself, hey, this is a person who was tasked to try to protect the community. I'm going to have faith that this person is not a power hungry ass. I'm going to have faith that this person actually has a good heart on them. And yeah, there was a bunch of times I bumped into police officers over the last 2 days, and also in my life, right? And it's like I don't have anything bad to say about our police department. I don't. Like maybe there might not be the most efficient, or I don't know, effective. I don't know. But like the overall view about HPD Honolulu Police Department is not one of resentment and hatred and defunding, because the people here, we just kind of fall in line. We're like, why would we harm our neighbor when we live on a tiny little island and we're all in it together kind of thing? You see, like what good does it do for me to be to harm another person when we all want to live happy, healthy lifestyles? You see, so you realize like people connect with each other kind of thing. It's like life becomes a much happier place when you try to connect with one another rather than just build up walls. But yeah, I'm not familiar with the Christina Yuna Lee story. And I don't even know how to get people to be more respectful of NYPD. Like, I've been in a police station, right? I've spoken to people in NYPD. I don't have anything bad to say about them. They are doing a job. They're tasked with this thing, trying to keep crime under control. And again, I don't know what the answer. I don't know what NYPD can do to change how people treat each other. I don't. I think that's like far beyond what a police officer can do. Police officers cannot change how the actions a person takes. All they can do is try to control it. Try to stop whatever the wrongdoer is doing, and then hope that there's some kind of like prosecution or treatment to get this person to be a upstanding citizen. Ooh, I heard about that. Yeah, someone told me about this recently. Yeah. Yeah, Sonny, what do you have to say about this? Because, I don't know any stories about people doing this in Hawaii, okay? Like, we might not have that many concentrated people as in New York City, but I've never come across a story where it's like all these heinous stuff. Or is this commonplace that I'm not familiar with it? That's some disturbing stuff. And yeah, I think I've shared it with you guys. When I hear about all these, like I know I can say this, right? I can say this comfortably, right? when I come across people who are Asian descent saying things like, stop Asian hate, don't hurt Asians kind of thing, we need people to listen to us and stop hurting us kind of thing. Like, you can call me very apathetic, but I just kind of think to myself, like, no one really cares about the Asians. Like, I hate to put it that way, but it's like Asians are like a little whisper. Like, you hear about this stuff, and it's like you don't hear about, like, oh, people really saying, like, hey, let's talk about the stuff that happened to Asians today outside of New York. I'm like, no. But yeah, I don't really feel like people really care about the Asians too much. It's like, you beat up an Asian, oh well. Oh well. Oh well. Like, Asians are just like, yeah, when no one really cares about Asians. It's okay. But yeah, I see people on the news talking about, like, oh, like, don't do this to Asians, and I'm like, oh, jeez. I think it falls on deaf ears. Ooh, easy there, David. You're gonna get canceled. You're gonna get real canceled. Like, I know people, like, when I used to talk about things like that, right? I talked about, like, the Adam Toledo case, and I couldn't, like, I tried to understand both sides, right? And it's like, I just thought to myself, like, look, if you give, how would I put it this way? I think that there are good cops and there are bad cops, right? I think that people should be accountable for sure if they're bad cops. For instance, right? The whole Derek Chauvin thing, right? I think everybody can agree he was a bad cop, right? That should have not happened. All the stuff with the other police officers, at least from what I perceived in, is like they just fell in line. I don't know if they just deferred to him or they just, had the same kind of thinking. But yeah, it's like it made me feel bad because I thought, like, holy crap, the whole freaking police department got villainized. Anybody who wants to make a difference and join the police department in that precinct or whatnot is going to be seen as a terrible, terrible person. And I don't know how to, like, change that. I wouldn't know how that police department would change your perception around because, yeah, all it takes is, like, one Derek Chauvin and the other guys just falling in line to just kind of, like, sear this memory in people. And yet, I think there are good cops in that police department, but they got lumped up with Derek Chauvin. And I'm sure, people got where when they found out, when that happened, I think people were probably up in arms like, oh, all cops are this, all cops are that. And it's like, oh, jeez. There are good cops and bad cops. Okay, 100%. There are good cops and bad cops. There are good people and bad people. But when I interact with the people in the police, I don't go into it thinking that the worst is going to happen or just, not listening to them. Like, I treat people, like, police, non-police, like, I try to treat them well. I try to just see them as people. Well, easy there. I don't want to get into this whole thing because, like, I don't know enough about the case to talk about it. I can just tell you from what I saw based on the camera footage, and I thought it was outrageous. So yeah, do I think Chauvin was guilty? Yes. Do I think the other guys are guilty? I don't know because I don't know the evidence for that. It's easy for me to presume they're guilty because they followed suit. But I think there was this one guy who questioned Chauvin, but then because Chauvin was the superior, he just fell in line, right? Like, you wouldn't really want to question a guy who was, what, 19 years on the force or something. Well, I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I heard that I heard all of them were deemed guilty, but I don't know much more outside of that headline. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think anybody would be defending Chauvin, but the other three guys, like, it. Like, I don't know too much about the evidence, but I could kind of understand why one might not go against Chauvin because that was his superior. And that guy had much more experience. One guy, I think he was like, he was kind of like a greenie in the force. So yeah, I'm not expecting a greenie, a person who hasn't been on the force that long to say like, no, Chauvin, you're wrong. Like this is protocol. Because yeah, people would just kind of look at rank and they would say, well, if you're more senior than me, then you should know better than me. And plus, I think it's hard also, right? Because it's like you would think to yourself, you don't want to cause trouble, uh, tensions between you and your other police officers because you're the new one. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, I didn't follow up with the case, so I don't know why the other three were deemed guilty or what the charge was or what they were found guilty of, or like guilty for being a part of it. Yes, guilty for it was there any like maliciousness or was there any like this or that causing them to do that? I don't feel comfortable giving it an option because I don't know. I don't know the evidence. No, I didn't. What do you mean? What do you mean yoked up? What do you mean by that? What is yoked? Like that's some slang that I'm not familiar with. What is that? Oh, really? Oh, jeez. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, I didn't watch that video. I don't know. Yikes. But yeah, good on the guy getting fired. Like, you should not put your hands on another human being, right? So, yeah, if it's a job, like, it's right to terminate the guy who did that. Or is there something controversial about that? Or is there got to be a person who's like, no, he shouldn't have been fired. He should have kept his job. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like rushing into it, but I could see that being a fireable offense. Would I want a cookie? I could bake one if I wanted to. What? Yikes, yikes. That's not good at all. That is not good. Yikes. Hmm. So yeah. Um anyway, yeah, so I don't want to get into like whole police thing cuz I'm like not in touch with a lot of the police stuff that goes on right now. I think that like I have to choose what I listen to because like sometimes when I listen to this stuff, like I'll just say like, look, I understand it's like one or two or three bad apples. I don't want to get into the whole bandwagon of destroying police forces because like if we destroy police forces, what's going to happen? Like if let's say we said, let's get rid of NYPD. Let's fire all the officers. Like what do you think will happen to crime? I don't think it'll get better. I think it would get worse. But yeah, NYPD cannot solve the way people treat each other in New York. The way they don't treat. They don't get involved. I think trying to actively help make the city a better place. It was just me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I have to admit, like New York City is very multicultural. There are people of different backgrounds coming together. And I honestly thought, I think it's a beautiful thing. I do like the idea of people coming together. Look at Hawaii. Hawaii is a mixing pot of cultures, right? But the big difference again of New York and Hawaii is that although there's a lot of different ethnicities, it's just the way people are. And I think once there's a moon, then people fall in line. And when people fall in line, like things don't change, right? If you expect change to happen, but you don't have things changing in a positive fashion, then you can expect things not to go well. So, oh, I think it just makes me kind of feel like New York is just, yeah, NYPD can't save New York. Only the people can save New York. Yeah, but I can, like I said, Wes, I can understand why the rookie cop wouldn't do it. If I was a rookie cop, yeah, I mean, like, I can understand why they would feel very intimidated because they would say, I don't want to go against my superior, right? It's like falling in line. Do I think New York changed the way I think? Yes. I do. I think that in New York, you have to be a lot more guarded. And that's why it's easy to just say, okay, I'm just gonna keep my head down, not really interact with people because people don't want to interact with me anyway. And yeah, so I will just kind of hermit a lot of stuff out. And I tried to get to talk to people and things like that, but I just didn't really feel with much of a connection. I felt like people weren't going to be like, "Oh, hey, Erica, you're really cool. Let's go to have lunch next week" or anything like that. Like no. It was just like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll talk to you later." Like that's it. It's like not enough. It's like not enough like connection outside of that, if that makes sense. But yeah, in Hawaii, it's like people come together and like they hang out and things like that. Like you have to ask yourself, right? You have to ask yourself, like, why is it like I can be in Hawaii and then you just feel like this closeness and things like that. And if I'm in New York, I just feel so isolated. I'm like this, it's not like I have like a radical personality shift when I moved to New York. It's just like the people. The people are just different. Um, But maybe you could argue you could fault in you, Erica, because you have to be the outgoing one. Like people don't want to hang out with you, so you have to be more outgoing for people to want to hang out with you. Versus in Hawaii, it's like people are just like naturally friendly to one another. So, see how it is. I mean, I think Sunny left the chat, but Sunny is a very personable person, right? So you could say that I did it wrong, but I would talkative to people and what we're just not going to be to each other. Like, yeah, is it like someone always has to reach out because yeah. You see, I can't describe it too much, but it's just like in Hawaii, you just pick up the vibe that everybody is like open basically to talk to each other. But yeah, I'm not gonna lump Long Island with New York City. But yeah, when I talk about New York, just know that I'm referring to like New York City stuff. I'm not referring to like a remote area of New York because I haven't been to the like a super remote like all the super remote areas. Yeah, I mean like I do agree with it. It is good to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah, I've seen Long Island, it's like Long Island people from what I picked up where they were just kind of chill. It's like living their life, not being all hateful to one another, kind of thing. Like, when was the last time you heard about, like, you know, Long Island man doing this or Long Island woman doing that? Like, no, I don't know what it is. I think Long Island is a higher quality than New York City. Like, is that terrible for me to say it? Is it terrible for me to put it that way? I think the people, like I said, I have nothing bad to say about people of Long Island. But yeah, New York City, that's just something that's not so great. But yeah, maybe you could argue and say, well, it just the whole thing. That's just my skewed perception, and maybe I'm all wrong. Maybe it's just because you know, I didn't try to get to like meet everybody in New York, but yeah, I interacted with people. It's not like I stayed indoors all day, all night. I did, see people and I did pick up vibes and things like that. But I think a lot of people just kind of keep their head down, keep to themselves, make money, and then that's it. Like, look stylish, make money, and just, yeah, just like try to stay out of trouble. Yeah, the people has to change. I really think the people have to change. And yeah, it sucks, if you live in New York City and you feel like I'm like talking shit about New York City, but that's just my experience. Like, overall, I think people need to be less apathetic and people need to come together and just say, hey, we're all in it together. Don't freaking hate the police department. Don't destroy your city, kind of thing. I get it. It makes you feel big and powerful. It feels good to do this and do that. But what kind of character do you really have when you're like destroying cop cars? What kind of intelligence does that signal to do that kind of stuff? I get people are angry, but if I'm angry, I don't throw dishes up at the wall and be like, ooh, look at me. Like, no. Like, I really, like, when I saw this stuff, I was just thinking to myself, like, I really shouldn't say anything, but I really think you're not a smart person if you're destroying cop cars that are just like you're going into this herd mentality and just like doing this stuff. And people might hear me say this and get mad at me for saying this, but higher brain thinking, if you're mad, you don't need to resort to this stuff. You go and do things, like a mature adult, not cause, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of damage just to say, I'm mad. People don't like hearing this stuff, you know? But I couldn't, I like when I heard about this stuff and I was like hearing all this thing, I just thought to myself, like, is no one going to just say, what do you plan to accomplish with this? Like, is this the best way you can vent your anger? It's stupid. And I feel bad, like for the people who live in certain areas and it's like, they heard, they knew what happened, but they chose not to partake. And it's like some people, it's like some people like lost their businesses, they lost their homes. And what are we supposed to completely disregard stuff and just say like, oh, it's okay, like it's okay that you lost your business, people were angry, so just get over it. You don't understand, other people were angry, and if you feel an emotion, that's on you. You don't understand. Like, if I would get so pissed off if like that happened, right? Like, if you have like a little, like if you have like a family laundromat or something like that, and then You have these people who are just like saying like, oh, we're pissed off about this one cop, and then people said, yeah, let's destroy our city. Yeah, feels good to destroy our city. It's like, you live in this freaking city, or do you not live in this city, but you choose to destroy it just because you needed a place to just like vent out the anger. And the best way to do it is just like destroy things and light things on fire. And I made this joke, and I think I talked about it too, right? I said, tell me, please explain to me, why is it that people just go into this whole thing where they say like, let's go ahead and take it out on like the Target cash registers. Like, please, like, let me know. Like, because I just never understood it. Like, okay, I'm mad about what happened, so let me go and steal things from Target. Like, okay, like, no, I think it's like opportunistic. And then you just got people who are just angry, and they're like, okay, well, I'm angry, let me benefit from it financially. I don't know when the next convention. I don't know. It's like later this year, kind of thing. But yeah, like, I'll stop talking about this stuff because I know it's triggering some people. I know there must be a few people out there who's like, you don't understand when I get angry, Erica. You're right. I don't understand it. When I get angry, I choose to, I choose not to react like that. You know, I'm not, I don't lose my temper very easily. And if I do lose my temper, it's because something happened directly. It's not because, oh, I'm mad because, this happened to a person that I never met, but I'm going to destroy my own city because I'm angry about what happened. And yeah, I think that's going to help the rest of the city if I do that stuff. Like, and then I also ask myself, right? Like, okay, let's dig into deeper, right? Do you think the person who got harmed, or do you think the person who died would want that for their city? I'll tell you this straight up. If I, let's say if something unfortunate happened to me, right? Let's say a, an officer, right? Like from HPD did something. So something like I passed away, right? Let's just say that, right? I would not want the people who love and care for me to destroy Honolulu. I would not want that. 1000%. I would not want that to happen because I would hope that the people who love and care about me, who feel angry about my, let's say I died, right? My death, would understand that these actions came from one person or maybe a group of person, but that is no reason to cause hardship and whatnot on other people who are completely innocent. You see? Like, even, even if something, like I said, even if anything happened to me terribly in Honolulu from an HPD officer, I 100% would not want anybody to destroy Honolulu. I wouldn't want people burning buildings, flipping cars, breaking into stores, or anything like that. Because that's the kind of person I am. I would say, let it work through the justice system, get media attention, but don't destroy Honolulu. Because I think Honolulu is, a place that should be protected. Not a place that it's like, oh, an HPD officer did this, so let's destroy our city. Like, no, that would make the problem like 10 times worse. Because then people would look at that situation and they would say, I remember when I remember when I used to go to, let's say, my favorite grocery store, and now I can't go there anymore because it got burned to the ground or it got looted. So I'm not understanding where this kind of thinking comes from. I really don't get it. But yeah, how about you guys? Like, if anything happened to you, would you want to see your city destroyed? I wouldn't want to see my city destroyed if some police officer did anything to me. No, I love my city, you know? But yeah, even if I was in New York, I wouldn't want to see New York getting destroyed because of something that happened to me. I'd say, what good does that do? That doesn't do anything. That just makes, like I said, that just makes the situation worse. And then yeah, let's even dig into it deeper, right? All the people who do this kind of thing and they break into Targets and stuff, what are we supposed to do? Call them people who are hurting so much that they have to go ahead and steal TVs from Target? Hell no. That's even just like that's like disrespecting, the whole situation. It's like, "Oh, I'm so sad that I'm going to steal a TV from Target to make myself feel better." Yeah, David says if something happened to me, what would matter to me is the same thing would have happened to others. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not against media attention, okay? I'm not against highlighting this stuff. But what I'm against is people defacing and destroying their own city, causing people to be against like whole groups, just because it's like I don't like I wouldn't. I'm against that stuff, you know? Like I'm totally for telling like people look like that whole Derek Chauvin situation, right? If they said we're going to talk about it on the news, we're going to discuss this kind of stuff, we're going to discuss issues, and we're going to, we're going to make sure that this never ever ever happens again. I would be fine with it. But then once people start like flipping over cars, destroying buildings, things like that, it really is like such a slap in the face to any more higher level and intellectual discussion, because then people will associate things with, oh, the police officer done fucked up again, so yeah, watch out, just pray the next incident in the United States doesn't happen to your city, because depending on whatever city you have, you might have, your home in danger because people got mad. Yeah. But there's a problem there, because once you start talking about accountability and once you start saying like think logically, people get really offended and you'll be canceled for that. Again, I'm not saying silent stuff. I fully believe that there should be media attention for this kind of stuff. I really do. But I just hate it whenever, I hear about certain things, certain situations occurring, and then you hear about like such backlash, and then people are just like burning down their own police departments, burning this, burning that, doing, all these little fires, flipping over cars. It's like, how is that supposed to make the situation better? Like, please let me know. Did you know this person personally? Do you think that person would really want you to do that? Or do you just feel so heated up that you think to yourself, like, yeah, that's the best way to preserve this person's memory. Let's go ahead and burn down, burn all these cop cars. I don't think that's right. I really don't. Like, people should be people should say, you know what, we're going to make sure the media reports this. We will make sure that There's higher level discussion and there's no distractions. No, oh, hey, did you hear about the multi-million dollar damages of all these buildings and all these cars and all these whatever getting destroyed? Like, there shouldn't be, people shouldn't be doing that. If there wasn't any coverage on that, then it wouldn't overshadow certain things, right? Because let's talk about this, right? Whenever you hear about like high profile stuff, the first thing I think is like, oh crap, I wonder what's gonna happen to that city now. Oh dang, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all. I haven't I haven't lived in a city torn apart from riots. Yeah, I gotta look up that Canadian trucker stuff. I haven't been following a lot of the stuff. I heard snippets of it, but I don't know too much about it. Hmm. So Renault looks like Renault has done his research. Therefore, we should cancel Reynolds. Oh man. Yeah. You know, I always felt like if the Honolulu Police Department fucked up, I always felt like the first thing people would do was like find the people. Like if people tried to destroy Honolulu, everybody would like come on and they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing? You know, are you freaking stupid? You know, don't you understand that, you know, your grandma shops here or something like that?" Like it would be so embarrassing, I think, if someone tried to do that kind of thing. Like what? You're going to go destroy a shopping center. You're gonna go destroy a store, and what? You think nobody goes there? Yeah, you're gonna inconvenience your own community. Good job. Good job at expressing your anger by just making sure that people can't shop there anymore. That's why I don't think this would happen in Honolulu. Cause yeah, people would know. People would be easily identify all those people, and then they just like they'd give them like you know they'd basically like set them straight. Now that's one of the things about living in a little tropical island. Like people will know each other. People will be like, you know, this is like we don't shop very many places, so we need to go here. So if you're gonna destroy something, like just do it in the middle of a field or something. Don't do it where people work, people have businesses, uh people go to because they buy their groceries there. No, I haven't heard of the Duffy riots. Yeah, yeah. I think this streak took a huge tangent. Man, I was talking about people and then I went off about the frickin' people idiotically destroying their own community. Overall, it's all up to the people. The police can try to set systems in place so people go smoothly, but yeah, no police department can cause people to care about each other. No police department can cause people to respect each other. No police department can stop a person from acting, irrationally and being like, "I'm gonna break all the windows of this store because I'm mad." Yeah, I've always wondered why people do that stuff. I don't know. I mean, there is crime in Hawaii. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, you don't. Do you guys see anything where like, you know, a terrible crime happening in Hawaii? People were mad about this or that, and then Hawaiians went off and said, "Yeah, we're gonna get justice by burning down Whole Foods or something." Like says no person. I swear, if someone tried to do that, man, everybody's aunt and uncle would come out and just like give them, like, yeah, just basically like beat their butt unapologetically. Yeah, people need to just be warmer, kinder, and have like bigger picture kind of thing. That's my personal opinion. Oh wow, look at this. In 1980, the cops killed Arthur McDuffel during a traffic stop, and ensuing riots, the protesters burned down their own neighborhood, destroyed their own community and businesses. It took over 30 years for the community to recover. Yes, yes, I see. This is the kind of stuff that I have in the back of my brain because I think it also prevents people from wanting to get involved in the community via policing or whatever. And it just like it causes repercussions that these freaking idiots don't think about when they say, "Ooh, let's go ahead and burn this and burn that down." And yeah, if you are mad about what I'm saying, I would really say you would have to check yourself because again, logically speaking, why would you want to destroy the community that you live in? It is very stupid because yeah, it's like that doesn't make the problem any better. You just stop people from going to certain places. And then now people also lose their job. So you're mad about something that happened to someone that you probably never even met in your life, and then you're just thinking like, yeah, let's all band together and just destroy our community. Like what's the logic in this? What is the logic in that? But then again, it doesn't take a lot of brain cells to get angry and then just start like destroying stuff. Okay, night y'all. Night, night, spear. Night to you too. So, yeah, I think I've said my piece about that kind of stuff. I really should. I was thinking about doing a separate stream and talking about my views, but I think some person's gonna get butt hurt and they'll be like, you don't understand. I was just so sad. I felt no other choice but to group up with my other fellow depressed people, and we agreed that the best way for us to release our anger about the situation was to destroy our community. Oh my gosh. To have dumpster fires and things like that because that really prevents that from happening in the future, right? I mean, no, that's just some idiot thinking over there. You want to change people, you gotta like enlighten them, and then you can't just do some kind of stupid behavior like that. And I feel bad for people who get their they lose their jobs because some idiot or some idiots just thought, yeah, we're gonna just destroy this whole city because we can. Yeah, so my head is like so tired right now, so I'll talk to you guys later. And yeah, let me know in the comment section if you guys want your thoughts about this thing. I do maintain that Hawaiians are very, very warm. I think that um, to to do well in New York, I think you have to be kind of hardened, and you definitely can't be like super sensitive for sure. And you just gotta emulate the kind of things that you pick up in people. If someone is distant, you should also be distant as well, right? That's just my stance on it, or just don't really care too much. Um, but yeah, I think people crave connection, and I think that people want to feel like you know, they're not in a city that's just very apathetic about things. I mean, no disrespect to NYPD, but I just feel like people have this general view that yeah, maybe the cops are at NY and New York is a ticking time bomb. Who knows? But whatever the case is, it's just yeah. Oh wow, jeez. No, I already did a Sunday stream about Sunday sales. I talked about it in my previous stream. Mm. Yeah, okay, you guys, I'm getting like exhausted right now. I think you guys can tell. So I will talk to you guys later. I hope you pick something up from my stream that I did, did. And yeah, again, I am not anti-cop. I am not anti-New York, really. I just think it's really sad when people just allow their city to just fall into crap. Where I think it's really sad when people just actively seek to destroy things because you're not making a situation if you destroy things, right? But maybe I'm asking too much from people. Maybe that takes too much brain power. Maybe that requires people to emotionally regulate themselves, which some people may be incapable of doing. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.